And we're live.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be back here with you. Obviously, it's me, Toasty, with AJ behind the scenes, making us all look good. Finally, a decent night last night. I shouldn't say finally. We had one bad day, but that one bad day just it felt really bad. Felt really big. But yesterday was huge for us. A couple nice wins. Glad I didn't end up laying it with Texas. Missed on Oklahoma State on the show. Again, like I said, I didn't really love it. I ended up for VIP. I ended up doing like a UConn, Oregon money line, and then a Texas UCLA money line parlays. I also laid it with UCLA. So all is good. One thing to keep an eye on, I will say about UCLA, is them finishing games. They were up 17-0 yesterday, and got it within, and then Stanford got it within 5 in the second half. So again, UCLA covered and whatnot. Just one thing, just to keep an eye on going forward. But today we've got some decent games, not nearly as stacked as the last few days have been, for sure. But nonetheless, we still got some decent games on the board. Gonzaga and Baylor. As you know, if you guys know me, I'm a big Gonzaga guy. So let's talk about it. I gave this out last night to the clients, or VIP members, whatever you want to call them, at -1. Gonzaga -1.5 at 2.5. I mean, I still lean with Gonzaga here. I just want to make it clear, this has nothing to do with me liking Gonzaga. I will fade the hell out of them if I can, or if I feel the need to. Matter of fact, when they played this Baylor team in the national championship game, I had a very large bet on Baylor. So just wanted to make sure that we throw that out there. This isn't a homer pick for real. So what do we got going on in this game? I've talked a lot about turnovers in college basketball and guard play, and that's going to be the number one thing. The offenses on both these teams is number 1 and number 2 in the country. There's no question about that. Baylor, a little bit better on the defensive side. There's no question about that. 33rd in turnover percentage. I think that the main thing that we're gonna have to watch now is Norman Hickman, the Gonzaga point guard, going to be able to handle this Baylor pressure. He wasn't doing very well at the beginning of the year, but if you look at what he's been able to do the last couple games in the box score, you might not see a whole bunch, but on defense, he's actually played very well. I talk to guys that follow Gonzaga and stuff extremely closely. They talk about how well he's calling out screens and telling everybody where to be on defense. And those are the things that you want to hear from your point guard, especially when he's not being able to contribute on the offensive end. Obviously, Drew Timme is going to be a pretty big advantage on the inside. Obviously, when these guys play the national championship, you guys had like Jonathan Jamu-Chachua and Mark Vital down low. Baylor doesn't have that anymore. They got Thamba, but Timme should be able to go to work against Thamba. So I like the advantage in there. Obviously, Baylor still has their guards. They still got Cryer, they still got Flagler, and then Keontae George has actually been a pleasant surprise for them. I mean, not a surprise. We all knew he was good, but he's actually looked very good the last couple of nights. I just think that the waves of guys that Gonzaga can throw at you, speaking of Cryer and Flagler, Zags have guys like Anton Watson, Julian Strother, and then guys like Hunter Silas coming off the bench, who's like a top 15 recruit coming off the bench, who is like a defense-first guy. So all of that points to Gonzaga. We got a way more experienced roster in Gonzaga, number 42 in the country for Gonzaga, number 202 for Baylor. At the same time, who have they played? Gonzaga, the 6th hardest schedule so far in college basketball. Baylor, number 181. This isn't just a fade of Baylor because of what we saw at Marquette. I just want to make that clear either too. Marquette's a very hard team to prepare for. especially at home. And a lot of these first true road games, it's not easy for these college kids. So it's not just, oh, Baylor looked bad against Marquette, we're fading them here. I really had nothing to do with that. If anything, you could probably make an argument that that was a flat spot, and this is the game that Baylor would get up for. Either way, I'm all over Gonzaga here today, guys. Like I said, loved it at 1.5. At 2.5, it's a little bit smaller of a play, but either way, it's Zags or pass for me today.
What color uniform are the Zags going to be wearing?
Thank you, AJ, because I was going to bright that, but if the Zags are wearing the jerseys that say ZAGS Zags on it, just cash out because they're going to lose. I'm just going to let you guys know that right now. Just going to let you guys know it. You just ruined my morning, AJ. Thank you.
I just want to keep you on your toes, remind the people I care, you know.
Do you care? Do you? Or do you just want to see me squeal?
Both a little.
Yo, all right. Illinois and Maryland. This is one of my other favorite games of the night. I'm actually shocked, I guess because some of the money's coming in on Illinois, but I'm actually shocked this number hasn't moved a little bit all over the Terps here today. Give me Maryland -1.5. I absolutely love this spot for the Maryland Terrapins. Yo, they've started 7-0. They haven't played a super cupcake schedule. They have good wins against St. Louis and Miami. And even though that Louisville's trash, and we all know Louisville's trash, you still get a little bit of credit for having them on the schedule and playing well against them. Illinois, on the other hand, decent team. They beat you with UCLA, but I don't, again, had a big bet on UCLA last night. Not trying to talk shit about UCLA, but they didn't look good that weekend. Just point blank period. That's kind of why I liked them last night. It's just one of those situations where they just didn't look good in Portland, talking about UCLA, and they got beat by this Illinois team. They probably shouldn't have either. If you watch that game, it's like as soon as Illinois started to press, it's like for somehow Tiger Campbell and everybody else just forgot how to play. I don't know. It was just really weird to see from the UCLA team. But anyway, I digress. And then Illinois beat a really good Maryland team. So you got to give them credit for that. The issue for me is with Illinois is Terrence Shannon, the 6'6" guy. He's coming over from Texas Tech. He's looked really good so far. He can shoot the three really pretty well too. But he's a streaky shooter. And the one thing about Maryland is they're pretty damn long. They got two guys in Julian Reese, who's 6'9", and Dante Scott, who's 6'8". Both of those guys, I think, are going to make life pretty difficult for Shannon. And last but not least, the experience factor. Maryland, number 15 in the country. Illinois, number 308. First true road test for Illinois. After a decent win against a Syracuse team that I don't even think is that good. Give me Jameer Young, Julian Reese, and Dante Scott to get the job done. And I'm all, like I said, all over the Terps tonight, -1.5. Here's another one I like too. Wake Forest at Clemson. Is Wake Forest good, guys? Because I'm pretty sure Wake Forest is good. We're going to find out tonight against a much better Clemson, a pretty good Clemson team. But I'm on Wake Forest here tonight. I got 3.5 last night. It's dropped down to 3 here today. I guess you could probably make a case that this might be a little bit of a flat spot for Wake Forest after that big win against Wisconsin, but I just don't really see it like that. They haven't played the best of schedule. Clemson hasn't either. So I think quality wins are definitely something that Wake Forest is going to need to have on their resume. On the road at Clemson is definitely one of those games for sure. Both teams offensively efficient, top 50 in that area. But I think that the two things is that the size of Wake Forest is a completely different story, much bigger. They've got two guys in 7-footers what's that kid's name? Matthew Marsh and Davion Bradford. They're both 7-footers. That Bradford kid doesn't play a lot, but the point is that they have length. Also, guard play. Wake Forest is Tyree Appleby. And his counterpart on Clemson, Chase Hunter, I don't even think that's like the same. I think Appleby's a much, much better player by far. Tyree Appleby's ORT rating is a rating that they give on KenPom to rate the players. He's a top 100 player in that rating. So I think there's an advantage there with Wake Forest at the guards. I think that they're still a little bit undervalued. I had this game at Wake +1, maybe 1.5, only because Clemson was at home. But Wake Forest has already played a road game, so you don't have to worry about them being their first road game. They've already went up into Wisconsin and beat that ass. So, yeah, I'm all over the Demon Deacons here today. I'll take the 3 points no matter what, for sure. Man, Pittsburgh and NC State. This is going to be a fun one because we've made some decent money on Pittsburgh here lately. This line doesn't really make any sense to me. Pitt +10. I don't think that Pitt's very bad of a basketball team. Obviously, haven't played the hardest schedule in the world. Only losses to West Virginia, decent team, top 25. Michigan could be top 25 sooner or later, and then a VCU team that's a pretty decent mid-major. NC State is one of those teams that offensively and defensively have been pretty good. 34th in the country in adjusted efficiency for NC State. It's about 2 guys for them. They've got an NBA player in Travion Smith, who came back because he's not big enough. He's a little bit skinny. And then Jarkel Joyner, who's another guy who can really just get buckets. We talked about that ORTG rating. He's top 115 in that rating. Travion Smith isn't a top 100 guy in that rating, but at the same time, all he does is get buckets. Pittsburgh got John Hughley back the other night. I think he was hurt for a game, or if I remember that right. Blake Henson is another guy that's pretty damn good. He's a big, tall, 6'7" guy. I hate fading NC State because they're one of the teams that I really like. The only blemish on the NC State resume is a 6-point loss to Kansas on a neutral. I just think that 10's a lot of points, man. But the issue for me is that it's not going to be a slow possession game. KenPom projects it to be over 70 possessions, 71 possessions. To be precise. And the issues when it comes down to it is the turnovers. Pittsburgh turns the ball over a lot, 248 in turnover percentage. NC State defense actually turns you over a lot, 53rd on in that category as far as defensively. And then NC State on offense, they don't really turn the ball over, and Pittsburgh isn't turning guys over on the defensive end. So I lean Pitt at the number just because I think that Pitt's better than people think they are. But I couldn't get there because of the turnovers. Both teams shoot free throws pretty well. So and the only reason I mentioned that is if one team, like say Pittsburgh, shot free throws well and NC State didn't shoot free throws well as a big favorite, that would give me a little bit more confidence to take the points with Pitt. But since it's essentially a wash at 73% each, I just got to pass. But I would lean Pitt in the points, but it's a lean at best. NC State is scary once they get going. Bring that comment. What's the best bet of the day question, Baver? Bring that up again. UMass and Harvard, Beaver. We skip to the next game. I don't have a play on this game, guys. I would lean Harvard, but I don't really have a play on this game. Beaver, read your email. Are you mad?
Oh, yeah.
South Dakota State.
Oh, yeah. I read my
South Dakota. All right. I'm just messing with you. South Dakota State and Kent State. This is another one that I just wanted to talk about because I really like this really like this spot for Kent State. They started the year very well. And then the only 2 losses to them is in Charleston, which is a really hard place to play. We've actually cashed with them a couple times this year. And then at the same time, they lost a very close game to Houston in Houston, which I think that Houston's probably, if not the best team in the country. So that's a huge plus for me now. So off of those 2 straight losses, now they get to come home and they play a South Dakota State team that's Not horrible, but they're not great. But there's a couple things that I really like in this match, really has me excited, and it's the turnover percentage. I talk about it a lot in college basketball, turnovers and guard play, and this one has me kind of excited about it. South Dakota State, one of the worst teams in the country, turning it over at 356. And guess what Kent State does? They are one of the best teams in the country at turning you over, fourth in the country at defensive turnover percentage. I really think off of 2 losses, which games that they could have had against much better competition at home, I think this is a smash spot for Kent State. Give me Kent State -7. All over the Golden Flash today. What's your bet of the day? Don't avoid this question. I know your top. I know you want to. I want to know your topic. I don't do top picks. I do top threes. Usually like a top 6 plays. I'm a volume better, bro. I don't do top plays and stuff like that. I would say Maryland or Kent State's probably couple of my favorites, though. I can tell you that for sure. Definitely a couple of my favorites. I see a couple of people talking about the under in the Gonzaga game. I actually agree with that. Both of these teams, you see number 1 offense, number 2 offense. You think points, but that's a lot of points. It's a lot of points. So that's it for me today. We will be back on Monday. We will have no show. It's the last weekend of football, the college football, all that BS is going on. So I appreciate it. I will talk to you guys on Monday. Good luck with your bets.